Kyouko Hori is the kind of high school girl who seems to have it all. In the bustling hallways of her school, she is the picture of popularity, energetic, flashy, and the center of attention. When her friend Yuki realizes she forgot her English translation homework, Hori effortlessly steps in, lending her notes with a bright, practiced smile. She is sharp and socially adept. When Yuki suggests giving Hori's email address to a boy from another school, Hori coolly shuts it down, remarking that if he can't ask her himself, he doesn't deserve a chance. To her classmates, Hori is a social butterfly, but she harbors a secret. This perfect school persona is a mask. During class, a small, almost invisible moment occurs. Hori drops her eraser, and it is retrieved by Miyamura, a gloomy, silent boy who sits in the corner. With his long, messy hair covering his face and thick glasses, Miyamura looks like the textbook definition of a brooding otaku. Hori's friends whisper about him, calling him dark and assuming he's obsessed with anime figurines. Hori plays along with the gossip to fit in, but privately, she barely registers his existence. However, the moment the final bell rings, Hori's life shifts drastically. While her friends head off to karaoke to sing the afternoon away, Hori declines, citing errands. She rushes home, not to relax, but to work. The instant she steps through her front door, the school Hori vanishes. She scrubs off her makeup, ties her hair back in a messy bun, and changes into baggy, practical clothes. With her parents constantly working, Hori has become the surrogate mother of the household, responsible for cooking, cleaning, and taking care of her younger brother, Sota. This is the side of herself she is terrified to let anyone see, the frugal, exhausted housewife. One afternoon, the doorbell rings. Hori rushes to answer it and finds Sota standing there with a bloody nose, looking shaken. But it isn't Sota who catches her attention. It is the young man accompanying him. The stranger is striking. He has a wild, punk rock aesthetic with a lip ring, multiple ear piercings, and a casual, cool demeanor that screams bad boy. He explains that Sota got scared of a dog and fell, and he kindly walked the boy home. Grateful, Hori invites him inside to clean up Sota, frantically trying to hide her shock at the stranger's edgy appearance. As they sit at the table, the stranger watches Hori fuss over her brother. He speaks up, his voice calm and familiar, noting how impressed he is that she manages the entire household by herself. He calls her Hori-san. Hori freezes. Panic sets in. How does this random punk guy know her name? Seeing her confusion, the stranger points to himself and drops the bombshell. "I'm in your class," he says simply. "I'm Miyamura." Hori's mind reels. She tries to reconcile the gloomy, invisible boy from school with the pierced, stylish guy sitting in her dining room. It turns out Miyamura wears his hair long and keeps to himself at school specifically to hide his piercings, which violate the dress code. The next day at school, Hori can barely focus. She stares at the school Miyamura, terrified that he might expose her uncool, domestic secret to the class. But Miyamura keeps his head down, remaining the silent ghost he always is. To her surprise, Miyamura approaches her later, not to blackmail her, but to ask if he can visit Sota again. He doesn't seem to care about her popularity or her lack of makeup. A strange friendship begins to form in the hallways. They realize they are both hiding their true selves from the world. Hori learns that despite his rebellious look, Miyamura isn't an otaku at all. His family runs a bakery, and he's actually terrible at studying. Their bond solidifies over shared secrets. Miyamura begins coming over regularly, ostensibly to play with Sota, but really to spend time in the comfortable, judgment-free zone of Hori's home. He brings cakes from his family's shop, and she helps him study for the tests he is failing. They discover that they are both two-faced in their own ways. Hori the closeted homebody, and Miyamura the closeted punk. The dynamic takes a chaotic turn when a local supermarket announces a flash sale on eggs. Hori is determined to snag the deal, but the student council drags her into a mandatory meeting, trapping her at school. Desperate not to miss the bargain, she texts Miyamura, begging him to make the run for her. Miyamura sees the text and immediately springs into action. In a rare display of athleticism, he sprints out of the school building, leaping over fences to get to the market before the sale ends. In his haste, he nearly crashes into Hori's friend Yuki. Yuki is bewildered, seeing a handsome, pierced guy fly past her, completely failing to recognize him as the gloomy classmate she ignores every day. Later that evening, the adrenaline has faded. Miyamura managed to buy the eggs, 3 whole packs of them. They sit down for a dinner of omelet rice, the atmosphere shifting from chaotic to intimate. Hori asks about his run-in with Yuki, worried their cover is blown. Miyamura assures her he didn't speak, keeping their secret safe. In the quiet of the kitchen, Miyamura breaks the silence with a confession. He tells Hori that he doesn't want anyone else to know about this side of her. He isn't mocking her domestic life. He genuinely cherishes that she feels comfortable enough to be real around him. He likes her messy hair, her shouting, and her cooking. Hori, overwhelmed by his sincerity, turns beet red. Flustered and not used to being appreciated for her uncool self, she lashes out in embarrassment, hitting him and shouting to cover her shyness. But as the commotion settles, the truth hangs in the air between them. They have accidentally discovered each other's hidden worlds. And as Miyamura looks at her with a soft, genuine smile and calls her cute, Hori realizes that for the first time, she doesn't have to hide. They share a secret space now, a side of themselves that belongs only to them. Next day, in the boys' locker room, panic sets in. Miyamura is frantically trying to change, realizing a massive oversight in his high school survival strategy. The school curriculum is moving into swimming classes. For most students, this is just a nuisance, but for Miyamura, it's a catastrophe. As he changes, he is terrified of exposing the extensive tribal tattoos that cover his shoulder and arm. He realizes too late that while he can hide his piercings with long hair, hiding a shoulder full of ink in a swimming pool is impossible. When he brings this up to Hori later, she looks at him with a mix of pity and disbelief. He really hadn't thought this through at all. The consequences of his secret become physically painful as the summer heat intensifies. In the classroom, the students are wilting under the high temperatures, fans whirring uselessly. While everyone else has switched to short sleeves, Miyamura sits at his desk encased in his thick winter blazer, buttoned all the way up. His classmates whisper, wondering if he's anemic or just weirdly sensitive to the cold. Internally, however, Miyamura is screaming. He is absolutely roasting alive, sweat dripping down his back, but he knows he cannot take the jacket off without revealing his tattoos and getting expelled. He resigns himself to a heat-stroke-induced purgatory to protect his secret. After school, the dynamic shifts from the stifling classroom to the open air, and Miyamura head to the daycare center to pick up her little brother, Sota. They find Sota in the middle of a confrontation with a little girl named Yuna, who is teasing him for crying. Miyamura, currently in his punk mode with his lip ring and piercings visible, steps in. The little girl, Yuna, freezes, looking up at this scary stranger with wide eyes. Sota, happy to see his new friend, loudly declares that Miyamura is his Onai-chan, his big brother. Miyamura doesn't correct him. Instead, he crouches down to Yuna's eye level. Rather than scolding her or being intimidating, he smiles gently. He notices a flower clip in her hair and compliments it softly, telling her she looks cute and that she would look even prettier if she smiled. The scary facade melts away instantly, leaving Yuna blushing and diffused. Hori watches this interaction, surprised and touched by how naturally gentle Miyamura is with children, despite his edgy appearance. Later, back at the sanctuary of Hori's home, Miyamura settles in as if he lives there. He has brought gifts again, this time a picture book for Suga. Hori feels a pang of guilt. He's always buying things for her brother, and she worries he's spending too much money. Miyamura brushes it off, admitting that his room is packed with impulse buys and he's just happy to be there. He admits that he likes the noise and warmth of her house, a stark contrast to his own quiet life. The atmosphere in the room shifts suddenly during a casual moment. Miyamura is drinking a latte he brought with him. Hori, distracted and thirsty, asks for a sip. Without thinking, Miyamura hands her the cup. She takes a drink from the straw and hands it back. A heartbeat later, realization strikes Hori like a lightning bolt. She just used the same straw, an indirect kiss. Her face erupts into a blush as she stares at him, waiting for him to react. But Miyamura, completely oblivious and comfortable, simply takes the cup back and puts the straw right back into his mouth. He doesn't even flinch. Hori is left reeling, her heart pounding, stunned by his lack of embarrassment while she is freaking out internally. It's a small moment, but it highlights the growing intimacy and tension between them. A few days later, Hori finds herself in a precarious situation. She is out running errands in her home mode, no makeup, hair tied back, wearing plain, unfashionable clothes. She is terrified of being seen by her classmates, desperate to maintain her popular image. As luck would have it, she spots her best friend Yuki and a group of girls nearby. Panic sets in. If they see her like this, her cover is blown. She frantically tries to dodge them, practically sprinting down the street, only to collide with someone. She looks up, terrified, but it's just Miyamura, this time in his school mode, with glasses and a blazer. He recognizes her instantly, undeterred by her lack of makeup. Relieved, Hori walks with him, though she feels self-conscious about her plain appearance next to him. Miyamura, sensing her mood, reaches into his bag. He pulls out a small object and hands it to her, saying he saw it and thought of her. Later that evening, alone in her room, Hori inspects the gift. It's a small, simple display ring, cheap but pretty. It is the first time Miyamura has bought something specifically for her, not for Suda or for the house. She pulls the little ring, a soft smile spreading across her face. Downstairs at dinner, Soda notices his sister grinning at her food and wonders what's gotten into her. For Hori, the ring is a tangible reminder that Miyamura sees the real her, the unpolished, domestic, plain-clothed girl, and likes her just the same.